Good afternoon, good morning. Mark Johnson from Loyalty 360. I hope everyone's happy, safe, and well. Welcome back to Loyalty Live. In this series, as you know, we speak with the leaders in the customer channel and brand loyalty, both on the technology as well as the brand side, about the technology trends and best practices they are seeing in the industry that impact a brand's ability to derive unique experiences, enhanced engagement, and most importantly, customer loyalty. As you know, in the month of April, we embarked on a mini series of Loyalty Live sessions, looking forward and looking in more depth with the trends that are impacting brands. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Carlos Dunlap-Beard, who's the Vice President of Loyalty Solutions. I can't say L words today at Clarus Commerce. Carlos, how are you today?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing quite well, man. Life is really good to me. You doing all right?
Doing well. Yes. Looking forward to the draft over the next couple of days and see how that goes. And yeah, life is good. Getting back to normal, at least somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat. Exactly.
All right. So for those who don't know, can you give us a little feedback on Clarus, what you guys do, how you do it, and also a little bit of background on you? I know we've talked about your great lineage and kind of experience in the industry, but would love to know a little bit more about both of those.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Briefly, just about me. I've been doing loyalty since 99, I believe it is, 1999. So I've been at it for quite a while. Worked at a few organizations, I think at least 5. Always focused on loyalty, on strategy, on business development, on basically trying to help our clients get to where they want to be. In terms of customer loyalty, customer engagement, customer experience. And I've always kind of focused on the strategy and consulting side, not so much on day-to-day operations. I'm not the person you want to go to if you want to make sure the program is operating effectively every day. But fortunately, we have a team that does that. As far as Clarus, we focus on building premium loyalty programs for retailers, programs that recognize and reward best customers. Those customers pay a membership fee, and in exchange for that, they get instant benefits. They get superior benefits than they would in a traditional free program, and we make sure that they receive an experience that's worthy of the fee that they're paying. So customers look at it, they do the mental math. Does this make sense for me or does it not? If it does make sense, they go in and they enroll, and then we take it from there. And we manage that on behalf of all of our clients. We provide all the comprehensive services from program management, reporting, analytics, strategy, obviously, and continual evolution, because our thoughts is that a program shouldn't just be set in stone. Obviously, it needs to evolve. The marketplace evolves, consumers evolve, and we know the environment that we're all operating in has significantly changed in the past year plus. In addition to the premium loyalty programs, we've also recently added more traditional points-based loyalty services.
Okay.
That'll now allow us to offer comprehensive loyalty solutions to brands that can capture 100% of their customer base. Get the top 20% who are more likely to enjoy a premium loyalty relationship with the brand, and then the remainder who are maybe they don't shop as frequently as the others. Maybe they don't want that kind of relationship. They're okay with receiving something more like a 1 to 3% value proposition, as opposed to a 10 to 12% kind of value proposition from the relationship, as well as all the other benefits that go along. So that was a long response, and I'm sorry for that, but obviously a lot going on.
Absolutely. In the last year, been a lot of changes, evolution, stress for marketers. So in the first quarter, we spoke with a number of our partners like yourself to understand some of the trends that are impacting customer loyalty, and we featured them in our digital magazine in the first quarter. I think we're going to drill down into some of those topics today, and I think I know the topics are data integration, personalization, and agility. Those were the three most important trends that organizations like yourself and some of the leaders in customer loyalty like yourself felt were important. So the first one, data integration. Data is very important. We all know that. It's talked about. I think it's almost banal to some degree. But brands are trying to change how they're looking at data and using data to not just meet but exceed the expectations of the customers. Do you have any kind of best practices or a couple of thoughts about how brands should actually do that in a kind of a simple manner?
I don't know. Yes is the answer to that, but I was just something caught me what you said. You said in a simple manner. I don't know how simple it is, and we'll probably end up talking about some of these things, but there are forces that are making it more difficult, with Google kind of doing away with third-party cookies and other things like that. And then of course there's the new regulations. There was always CCPA. Now there's the other one, CDPR or whatever it is, that other states will be adopting in the next few years. So to me, that makes loyalty programs even more important. The fact that the primary basis of a loyalty program is to better understand customers, allow customers to raise their hands and say, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I'm willing to provide you with information in exchange for whatever benefits that the program provides. So we like that, and we like the fact that that loyalty programs provide that kind of data. And because it was one thing to have the data, then it's a matter of, okay, what do you do with it? And there are services and technologies out there that allow brands to analyze it, bring forth something meaningful from it, and also act upon it. And I think that's just huge. And we as a group, and not just people in loyalty, but just marketers overall, I think it's past time that we stop being lazy with our technique, with our messaging, with our offers, because Mark is not like Carlos, is not like, insert consumer here. I mean, we have our differences and should be talked to, treated, offered, recognized, rewarded differently. And technology allows all those things. Yet I think it's just easier just to send a one size fits all email out, and maybe you change the first name, but that's really not personalizing offers when so much data is collected about consumers. And I know that, and I'll just follow this up with one other thing. I know that part of what's transpired and part of the data movement has also made Clarus move. I mean, our clients want a little bit more from us, and it's made us upgrade our own CDP, as well as our communications and offer management solutions. I mean, we've expanded our offerings to provide other things, and including what I mentioned before, the more traditional points-based loyalty solutions, and all of that to provide better services. And it's that same approach that brands need to take towards their consumers.
Okay. When you look at the different data sources, structured, unstructured, third party, which is going the way of the dodo bird, first party, zero party declared data, how should brands optimize that data collection to really impact real time and relevant interactions with their customers, across whatever channel they are engaging with?
Wow. Yeah. Well, the short answer is partner with Clarus, and we'll get you there quicker and more efficiently. But that's just self-serving. So, but for those who are looking for DIY solutions, I mean, there's plenty of software out there in the marketplace to not only capture, but to manage and execute on some strategies. The key is to connect, is to connect all customer touch points to a central hub that will allow the chosen platform to communicate and make promotional offers across all channels in a consistent manner, or in a differentiated approach based on the customer's chosen channel or what products or services they're interested in. For instance, to help optimize conversions, a brand might choose to provide more limited choices on mobile than they do online, or maybe in coordination with a member's profile data, it's determined that mobile customers are more likely to skew younger, so the offer is adjusting accordingly or so. But those are just, a couple of high level examples.
Okay. As we mentioned earlier, as I mentioned at least, zero-party data, declared data is becoming more and more germane, relevant to brands, right? So surveys, questionnaires, gamification, being able to engage a potentially smaller subset or maybe even a larger subset of the audience around these different surveys, games, quizzes to get more lifestyle, preference data. How is declared data, zero-party data being used to differentiate brands from their competitors?
Yeah. Well, it's used. How's it being used? It's used hopefully smartly. Let me see if I can kind of back it up a little bit. I mean, I know I talked a little bit about CCPA, and then I said something about CDPR. I think I was mixing up CCPA with GDPR, but it's CDPA is the next one that's coming out. But just this morning, I was in a meeting with our in-house counsel, our compliance officer, our head of data and analytics, because we were talking about the changes and adjustments we need to make to stay ahead of the changing regulations that our clients would appreciate. Hopefully, that we're thinking about this and managing data effectively on their behalf.
Right.
But brands still need to understand their unique customer value and everything else. So the fact that the third-party data is going away and zero-party data is becoming more prominent, that means that we need to pay more attention to the zero-party data and capture as much of it as possible, while obviously staying responsible and in compliance. So the beauty is that data is freely given, but it's given is given with a promise that something meaningful is going to be done with it, and it's going to be handled responsibly. And then, of course, the whole thing about the whole data compliance and everything else in the new regulations is the fact that consumers can choose to opt out. They can choose to say, "Hey, take all of my information you have about me and delete it." There's all of that that's along with it. So therefore, there comes the responsibility. The responsibility comes with that to handle the data respectively, and not respectively, but respectfully, and to make sure something relevant is happening with that data on behalf of the consumer.
Okay, interesting. When you look at the next trend that we saw that was impactful, again, coming from the technologies and agencies that we deal with, agility was something that kind of stood out. Brands last year not only had to manage COVID, but they had to develop new processes like BOPIS or buying online and having home delivery. There's a number of different initiatives they had, and it pretty much pushed or accelerated some of their plans, right? And then they also realized some of the technologies may not allow them to communicate with their customers in the way that they wanted to. So agility is an important factor for brands. I think they realize it now more than ever. Yeah. So when you look at the past year and how it's necessitated brands being responsive and agile, when you look at their loyalty and engagement strategies, how does agility help in that regard?
Yeah. Wow. I think it's kind of everything. Now, I don't know if every brand needed to make changes to manage COVID, to manage through COVID rather, because some brands they were already in a good place, or they already had a good digital channel. They already had buy online, pick up in store. Maybe they didn't have the delivery aspect down yet, or they didn't have other elements, so they had to make tweaks. But it was, last year was definitely crazy as crap, and it required all of us to make some adjustments, that's for sure. So, and I think I mentioned last year, some point in probably around the summer about how it was as I was observing the changes in the marketplace. What I also came across and what epiphany hit me is that consumers were willing to give brands a break and to forgive brands if they introduced something that didn't work as effectively as it should, but knew that the brand was trying to do things that brings more convenience to them. So if I say anything, I would say that it's that being proactive and being willing to introduce new services, means of connecting, that makes things easier from the consumer's perspective. That's what I would stress, from the consumer's perspective, and not from what's easiest for the brand to do is the way to go. I mean, you know, well, I would say, first of all, like McKinsey found in their study last year that 62% of paid loyalty program members spent more with a brand since they joined it. So I would say that, and we know that there was an influx of paid loyalty programs last year because there was value to be created in getting close to brands and making it easier for consumers, because consumers are willing to pay it. Because what we know with streaming service and everything else is that people want to pay for the things they want and the things that they want at their convenience. And so there was an uptick. We found it in our own study. 88% of consumers are likely to choose a retailer whose premium loyalty program they belong to over a competitor's program. So there are all manner of adjustments that brands can make, while keeping their business whole, but making things better, and easier for consumers. Because last year, convenience and time was like the number one thing that consumers were seeking.
Absolutely. You mentioned GDPR, CCPA, some of the changes there. A number of states, as you alluded to, have their own privacy regulations coming forth. It'll probably be not too soon where people own their own data file. That's we've been hearing about for a while.
Yeah.
But customer loyalty potentially has the promise to really address that, right? To abnegate some of the challenges that exist, to be that fulcrum which brands can be. Can leverage to drive engagement, right? Google just talked about this, that having a strong customer loyalty, customer experience program is very important. The IAB just did as well, advocated for. And the IAB is Interactive Advertising Bureau, for people who don't know, and they are not usually into loyalty programs or kind of those type of, because they're more acquisition. So it's great to hear those two entities talking about that. But what does customer loyalty mean going forward? Is it a way to address GDPR and CCPA without explicit permission? Is this kind of the halcyon days of customer loyalty that are coming forward?
Man, I think going forward, customer loyalty and customer choice, and how they want to be loyal are may be kind of one and the same. I think going forward, it means that it's not enough just to put a kind of a blanket program out there, but you have to put the component parts kind of out there, and consumers then determine how they want to engage with the brand, how they want to demonstrate their loyalty, what they're willing to do, and then what they're expecting out of that brand if they do it. I think that we're at a place, and we're almost, kind of at a crossroads that demands that we make some changes in how we do what we do, how we engage with consumers. And I think the forces of technology, consumer expectations, state/government, federal regulations, are all kind of coming together to mandate change in our industry. And it's all about experience, choice, flexibility, consumer control. And I don't think that's horrible for us as service providers. I don't think it's horrible for brands. I think it's just a change. It's a change that we need to understand, embrace, and then account for.
Okay. When you look at customers are changing, we know and hear a lot about that. Everyone does, right? And COVID accelerated that, or may have been, made it more challenging.
Mhm.
Having the right technology mix is very important to give brands the agility to execute customer experience, customer loyalty programs, that are relevant, that are engaging. How important is it to get that right technology mix? Right. I mean, should you go with enterprise players? Should you look for someone like yourself who does great in certain facets of the customer loyalty journey, the customer experience journey, the customer journey? How difficult and how important is it to get that technology, decision right?
It's very important. Jobs you may rely on getting it right. Um, and I think that's why people sometimes will choose the safe enterprise route, even though it's more expensive. Maybe it's not as flexible, but it's kind of like the old saying, no one gets fired from buying IBM. Back when IBM ruled everything and was more expensive and less, not as flexible as the new upstarts. So with that said, the beautiful thing is there are so many different options out there. The different providers, different service options, whether it's SaaS or it's full service, or whether it's a enterprise or a component part. There are options for brands to choose from, and it's just a matter of going through the process, doing the due diligence, and then selecting someone. And I would just say it's not just about the technology, it's about the people who come along with the technology and the connection between companies, the companies that have a similar mindset, companies that, a service provider who can embrace the culture of the brand and be a part of the brand, a part of the brand's team, and not be a vendor, because that relationship sucks.
Absolutely. And the last trend that we saw is personalization.
Mhm.
Brands want to have a more personalized approach and not necessarily just getting the name right, is understanding their customers at a more detailed level. This whole idea of hyper personalization
Mhm.
is a new trend that we're hearing more and more about. What does hyper personalization mean to you and to Clarus?
Yeah, man, this is like one of my favorite trends and things that I'm really excited about. And I think it's a great tie into the whole zero party data or the changing regulations and all that. The hyper personalization is, leveraging the, artificial intelligence. So for people who may not know, and real time data to deliver more relevant content or products and services or information to consumers or to users or whoever you're targeting. It's like personalization, but on steroids. I mean, it's one thing to do, drop a name in or change a product offer, but to really do it and do it quickly with some AI or machine learning or whatever else it is just amazing stuff. I mean, it used to be we would back in the day, we'd set up a campaign, and personalize it, or set up a campaign, execute it, and then we'd wait for the end of the campaign, and we'd go back and we look at the results, and then we'd say, "Ooh, we saw this or we saw that." But with this, I mean, the stuff just happens kind of real time. You put in the parameters and the rules, and then when stuff bangs against it in real time, all these API calls are hitting it and everything else, and then the changes are done in the less than the blink of an eye, and nanoseconds, and shot back out to the consumer. That makes it that personalizes the communications, the offer, the message, the creative, and it just makes it more meaningful. It just makes it more meaningful, and I think that kind of stuff is huge. And what it should mean and what it should lead to is increased loyalty, higher customer lifetime value, and all the other metrics, including and especially overall improvement and increasing brand affinity. So if it'd be one thing if I'm just talking to you and I never say anything. I never call you by your name, and I never talk about the great city of Cincinnati or your love for the Bengals or anything about that, or the fact that I know you have lovely daughters. And for the Broncos, I forgot about that. You're in Cincinnati, but you love the Broncos. You're right. And I knew that. But anyway, the point is, and I got that wrong. So that would be a strike against me as a marketer. But my point is that knowing you better and bringing in relevant elements of your life makes us feel closer.
Right.
And I think that's the same kind of relationship a brand wants to have with consumers. And it's a lot of consumers want to have with brands, but it has to be real.
So you talked about some of the benefits of driving hyper-personalized messages to improve long-term loyalty. One of the challenges that we see from our community, both brand and supplier, is that the causal relation between personalization, hyper-personalization, and incremental spend or incremental engagement. What are some best practices you see about tracking and measuring that causal relationship between personalization, doing it at scale and doing it right, and increased customer engagement and purchasing? Because that's a big challenge, isn't it?
It is a big challenge, but it's kind of been a challenge like forever, in the sense that, it's tough when especially if you don't know consumers, you don't know your consumers very well. You start a loyalty program, and the only thing you know about them is since they joined the loyalty program. Well, the only thing you know about the individual specifically is since they joined the loyalty program. You can do personas, you can do research, and you can cast 2,000 responses over 2 million customers and say it's statistically significant or valid, and run with that. But that's that doesn't really mean that Mark or Carlos. So the way I like to look at it is behavioral change. So if we know what she, he, they did prior to the message or the program or the offer or whatever it is, and then what they did as a result of the message, the program, and the offer, to me, that's the best way of understanding and doing analysis and tracking. We like to see positive shifts in behaviors. We like to, sometimes if we don't know what they've done before, we look at what program members do versus non-program members. But it might just be the best customers joining the loyalty program. You could try to debunk that. But then there's the tried and true measures of tracking metrics like order frequency, AOV, lifetime value, which I already mentioned before. And there's just, so those are certain things. Now, there's also the measures of which a lot of my colleagues get into is, emotional measurement. They sense they have a better emotional connection with the brand, the brand providing better experiences that drive heightened emotions and affinity and loyalty. Those are a little softer. Not that they're not valid, they're just a little softer. Behaviors, when you look at actual measurement and movement of the needle, is kind of my preferred method.
Okay. Well, definitely very interesting perspective on personalization, Carlos. And I think what you guys do is very unique. Last question I have for you. Are there other trends, areas of interest that you're seeing as you develop programs, processes for customers that are going to be important as we kind of recover from the pandemic that obviously will impact in 2021 and going forward?
Yeah. I think, this first one's going to be a little self-serving, but I like the role that premium loyalty programs are playing in the current marketplace and what it means going forward, especially since Urban Outfitters and Best Buy both just launched pilot programs of their own. Walmart, the juggernaut that it is, came out with, their kind of their premium loyalty program in Walmart Plus. So I think those are really cool, and it kind of fits into the findings in our data study to saying that people want more and more of that kind of thing. And what we're finding is that members in premium programs are like spend 4 times more than people not in a premium program. So that's cool. But what I also like is I really do love hyper personalization. Talked about that enough, but I
Yeah.
just think it's so cool. I love it. I think this whole work from home, remote corporate environment um, thing is not going to go away. I mean, businesses have realized that they can still get productivity from the organization while providing flexibility that employees have been craving like since forever. And so I like to say thank you to all the tech innovators who've made that possible. I think empathy, compassion, causes. I think that is meaningful to not just the U.S. but to the world, and I think that it's meaningful to consumers. And I think I believe brands are waking up to this. A lot of brands have awoken to the need to care about social justice, climate change, and other things related to the pandemic than things that they would not have been as supportive of prior to 2020 for multiple reasons. So anyway, I think those are the top things that I think about when I look at trending going forward, what's happening now, what's likely to stick.
Okay. Well, Carlos, it was great to hear your perspective on some of these top 3 trends, or on these top 3 trends, and keep up the great work at Clarus. Looking forward to learning more about your new offering, and exciting time to be in the industry. And it's always great to speak with you and hear what you're seeing and doing.
All right, Mark, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate the great work that Loyalty 360 does for our industry, and look forward to chatting with you soon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Join us back next Tuesday. And again, as Carlos mentioned, thanks for everything everyone does in customer loyalty. It's great to be in industry, and we love your support. Thank you very much.